Shut up and sit down. And sit down.
All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 360 Sports Show. I am Andrew Pizzelli. He is Christian Lauber. We have got a ton to get to today. We've got big news from the NBA. The Celtics, they sent shockwaves through the league last week. We're going to talk about all of that and what it means. The NHL, the Bruins are still going. They had a tough game last night. There's still some rumors circulating in the NFL. We've got golf news as well, breaking news last night and this morning. A lot of sports stuff to get to, and we'll get to it all in time. You can join us anytime in the comment section on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, or Twitch, or email the show, the360sportshow at gmail.com, anytime throughout the program to reach us on any of these topics. So without any further ado, Christian, where do you want to start? I mean, I know the basketball stuff and the hockey stuff is going to dominate a little bit here today. But which of these? Neither necessarily is happy topics. So should we start just with the Bruins? It's so fresh in the mind. We'll just start there.
Yeah, let's start with that. Start with the playoffs here.
All right. So the Bruins, if you just look at it on its face, they are tied 2-2 with the New York Islanders now in their series. They still have home ice advantage, which is a thing now. Again, crowds are back. That was evident last night at the Coliseum. The crowds are back. So the Bruins head home. They took care of business. Make it 2-2, come home, playing in your barn. But if you dive a little deeper than that, I don't know necessarily how good you feel about the Bruins. You feel like they're the better team, but Christian, with the injuries piling up on the back end and not getting enough out of the bottom of your lineup offensively, and guys like Pasta missing wide open nets, you can't have that happen in playoff games, especially against a team like the Islanders, which are literally trying to play these 1-0, 2-1 games, and you just live off the bounces and then pack it in defensively. Are you feeling good about where the Bruins are at, or are you concerned?
Well, that's funny you should ask that. Well, I would say most of the time I'm concerned, and
more concerned than normal.
That is, I would say that is the case right now because you mentioned it. A couple things. The defensemen. They're in trouble back there. I don't think they were a huge problem last night. I thought the forwards kind of just sucked all around. They just couldn't find their legs, couldn't find their game for whatever reason. I thought the Bergeron line, he lost a ton of faceoffs. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if he
hasn't even been out there a lot. That was the thing in Game 3. Yeah. He wasn't taking as many draws.
And when he did, he lost almost every single one in the first couple of periods. So I don't know if there's injury, something going on there. Marchand, I thought, was your best player on that line anyway. And as soon as Pasternak missed that empty net, I said, here we go. This is what it's going to be. And unfortunately, I just don't think really any Bruins forward line was good. And your best line might have been Coyle, Ritchie, and DeBrusk last night, and that is never good. I think Coyle has been excellent in this series. Unfortunately, he has two guys on his left and right that are just not up to snuff. I don't know. They get run circles around most of the time. I thought they were, okay last night. But when you see Matt Barzal skating around there and Jake DeBrusk on the other side, it's hard to just not go right there. That the Bruins whiffed on Barzal 3 times in the draft to take Jake DeBrusk and Zach Senyshyn.
What is your new name for him, by the way?
Who?
Jake.
Got a lot of names. Oh, Jake DeRisk, yeah. the autocorrect gave me a nice little nickname because I think every time he gets on the ice, something bad's going to happen. That's just the way I feel. I don't know. I don't even know where to begin. I'm concerned just based on the Islanders have kind of dominated you here in the last, I want to say, overtime period of Game 3 coming into Game 4. Should I expect some of that? Probably because of the loud. If I hear the word Old Barn at Nassau Coliseum one more time, I'm just going to stop watching the series and pack it in.
Just put it on mute.
Yeah, or I'll do that. But again, I think the Islanders outplayed you last night for the majority of the game. In just about every way. And then obviously, look, they're a tough team to play. I don't think they're the better team in the series. But the Islanders, unfortunately, are playing in a sport where anybody can beat anybody, which is not the case in the NBA or something like that. So they pack it in. They'll block a ton of shots. They'll hit you. And then you get a pop fly and Barzal whacks it out of the air. Stupid crap like that. So they're really frustrating because I don't think you look around their lineup. It's like these guys are not as talented as just about any other team in the playoffs, but they're going to beat everybody because they're structured, they're well coached, and then they got a few skill guys that will make plays. Just insanely frustrating. And I would say in a best of 3 here now, after last night and even the overtime period in Game 3 where you got a gift from Varlamov, I don't like the way it's trending as of right now.
Yeah. Like you said, they're not as skilled offensively. Everybody knows that. They want to play these low-scoring, weighted-out, patient games and get to the end of the game or get to an overtime where crazy bounces win games, which is what we saw in Games 3 and Games 4. In Game 3, it was a very poor decision by Lausanne, which leads to a breakaway chance. Which, in the NHL, for some reason, in-game breakaway is almost impossible to stop as opposed to shootout, situations. People were equating that like, oh, you should stop. It's like it's an in-game breakaway. It's so different than like a shootout, the mentality for the goalie. And then in Game 4, it's Marchand who shoots from an improbable angle. And, luckily...
It was a pretty nice shot.
Oh, absolute snipe.
But
and luckily, Varlamov was like down. He was like hugging that post, so he had exposed that corner. But again, you're trying to put the puck, which is only about this big, through a space that's maybe got like a centimeter on each side.
Yeah.
Ring! I mean, it's nasty to even... And what did Marchand say? Like, hey, any shot on net in overtime is a good shot. So the Bruins got the bounce. There were bounces that were to be had for the Bruins in that game last night. Because if you get up 2-0 on this team, it's going to take them out of their game. It's just not... They're not built to win those games. Look at Game 1. They're not built to win the way the Bruins played in Game 1.
Yeah.
Game 2, it was, hey, we're up 1-0. This is great. And then you let the Islanders then take over and get into their game. And then you're playing from behind, which is something you don't want to do ever, but especially against this team. So, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of left not knowing what to feel. I feel like you watch it and you're like, the Bruins are the better team. They've got more skill. They've got the better goaltender. Now, on that note, goaltending. Everybody wants to drag Tuukka Rask. And I get that he's not this, like, heroic goaltender. Like, he's just... But can we stop... Like, what happened in 2011 was amazing. But, like, it's not the, like, greatest thing. Like, we have to stop comparing Tuukka to that. Like, at some point, it's like you can't, it's unrealistic. Like, he allowed 1 goal in Game 4, and people wanted to drag him for it. It's like, everybody's going to make mistakes.
Yeah, well, here's the thing about
Was Tuukka a problem last night? Do you think Tuukka was the problem last night? Because I don't. I think he was probably their only good thing on the ice last night.
I think they could have gotten blown away if Rask isn't making saves that he made last night. The Palmieri goal was a chip out in front. He's hugging the post, and it goes right on Palmieri's stick, and he's a good goal scorer. He puts it in the back of the net. The other one, Barzal whacks it out of the air, and Rask lost sight of it.
Yeah.
So here's the thing about Rask, though, is the Rask haters go so far one way that you can't come back, and then the Rask lovers go so far the other way that there's no middle ground with this guy. And when people should just take it at what it is, he's a very good goaltender, and obviously people want to slam him for little things that happen, like the Barzal goal in Game 3 where he stuffs it home. on that plays like that, your D-man is taking a horrible route around the net instead of going out in front. So, look, he should have maybe pinned it against the post. But also, if Kevin Miller's
You
out
give
there in that
anybody,
situation,
you give me or you 5 whacks at it, we might put it in.
Yeah, other than Chris Wagner, it's probably going in. But like a guy like Kevin Miller is going to be there and clean that guy out. So he's not going to get 5 chances to jam it in.
Yeah.
So I don't blame Rask for goals like that. And the same one last night. The puck was fungoed in the air, as Jack Edwards liked to say, and it came right on Barzal's stick, and he hit it out of the air. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you got outplayed. I thought the forwards got outplayed more than anything. I thought Tenorti was fine. I don't see any real issue in terms of like, oh, Tenorti hurt you all night. No, I still think Lausanne is kind of, oh man, he's up and down. He's an adventure every time he gets on the ice.
I think it's in his head too. I think he's hearing it. I mean, and at that point, like, usually, like, every team you have a guy, you're like, oh gosh, I worry about this guy when he's on the ice. But it's not like evident when you watch the game. It's evident. Like, and the Islanders know it. Bad things. You said Jake to risk. I'm way more concerned about Lausanne being out there. I'd rather. I know. We talked about. It's like, is there anybody else? Like, I'd rather bring up Euro. Like, I'd rather throw somebody like that into the fire. Honestly, though, like, it's almost like if Lausanne's not going to have his head on straight and he's going to be overthinking things, I'd rather have I'd rather have somebody else out there that maybe we don't know what they have, but neither do the Islanders. The Islanders are going to smell blood in the water every single time.
Yeah, but sure. But I mean, if Carlo and Miller are in there, you probably don't see Lausanne. I don't know if you go.
Well, duh. I mean, I'd love to have those guys back.
But if you're talking Lausanne versus Tenorti, I'd almost rather see Tenorti out there at this point because he doesn't seem like as much of an adventure. And again, last night I don't think the defense was as noticeable in the offensive zone. Like getting pucks in. Game 3, I thought the Bruins dominated the game. And the D-men were moving the puck up. They were skating with the puck. They had possession, especially McAvoy, Grzelcyk, those guys.
Yeah.
Grzelcyk, I thought, has been meh in this series overall. And really, I'm concerned about the D in terms of, well, McAvoy's really the only guy. And then you got a bunch of guys that might have the yips, might not. You don't know. But outside of that, I thought last night was the forwards. I just didn't think you had enough. I don't know what it was, but Bergeron looked off. They had some weird changes, and guys were playing mix and match. But overall, I mean, if your Bergeron, if the Berge line is not going, and then Krejci and Hall and those guys are not getting their chances, I mean, look out. I mean, I don't know what else you have beyond that. I thought the Grinders were overall pretty good.
Yeah.
So that's all you can ask from Noah. But if those two lines aren't going, I don't know what you have beyond that.
Yeah. How do you feel about Game 5?
Not great. I think it's good that you're coming back home, obviously, and that you have 2 out of 3 here at home if you get to a Game 7. But right now, if I had to pick between the two, I'd say Islanders and probably 7 because just the way it's trending. The Bruins are getting beat up. The defense was not an issue last night, but going forward, it might be just based on the injuries there. And who knows what they're going to get from their forwards. I hope they have a little more jump. But I'll be honest, I thought the Islanders were going to come out in Game 3 like they came out in Game 4.
Yeah.
With the crowd, with the atmosphere, and kind of like punch you in the mouth. But they really didn't until Game 4. So maybe that was, I mean, look, out of all the efforts I've seen from the Islanders, that's about all they can give last night. That's about their best effort.
And it looks bad on the score sheet. Oh, 4-1. They got blown out. No. It was a 1-goal game and 2 empty netters.
Yeah.
So that it was score wise, it's the exact kind of game the Islanders like to play. Is it a choke if you lose to this team? I don't think I'm not going to call it that, but there's people who are going to call it that it's a choke to lose to this team.
I don't know if it's a choke, but because I think anybody in the NHL can beat anybody, but you should beat this team. I look at the Islanders, and a lot of they have a few good skill guys. Outside of that, I'm just like, this team is not anything to write home about. It's not like they're the Tampa Bay Lightning, but they're very well coached. They have good structure in their own zone. They're a really frustrating team to play against. They put you to sleep most of the time. And that's all I'll say. I don't think they have any real. It's not like they got Nathan McKinnon and guys like that running around out there.
Yeah.
Barzal is what he is. He's very good, but even him, I feel like they shut down a couple games where they just hit him.
Yeah. Well, that's where Carlo came in handy.
Yeah.
Carlo left the game, and that's where he kind of got going in Game 3 and yesterday.
True. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, he was falling all over the ice last night, but
The ice surface there has been brutal.
Yeah, it's not been good. I mean, the stadium is. I mean, they barely have Wi-Fi in there. So
oh yeah, you see that the post-game press after Game 3? I'm looking. I was like, is my internet bad? But like, well, no. Like the graphics look good on the post-game, and it's just completely pixelated. I think they're running dial-up there. I'm surprised we didn't get post-game quotes from like with Morse code out of there.
They're running like 240p and buffering every 12 seconds. It's like, oof, get some HD in there. But either way, I mean, look, the building is what it is. But I think the thing that the Bruins have going here is you got 2 out of 3. You got to get. I really think Game 5 might be a must-win because if you have to go back to Game 6 in New York, I don't know if you beat
elimination game in there. I'd worry about that. Not that this Bruins team isn't capable of then going and winning 2 in a row, but that's going to be a real tough spot because that place was jacked and animated, and they were feeding off. I mean, that's why I thought if Pasta had buried that empty net, open netter, the beginning shuts the crowd up, takes some of the air out of it. Now you can get going. Like get critical for Game 5, even though you're at home. Just the way the Islanders want to play, you gotta score first. You gotta get up like 2-0, and that they won't be able to play their style of game. I feel like, do you think the Bruins kind of a little too into the physicality? Like they should be like Washington. We knew was going to be a bloodbath. We thought it was going to be a long series. The Bruins ended up being able to weather their physicality. And we said, well, you play the Islanders, you're going to be able to, if the Bruins want, they can beat them up. Do you think they kind of got a little too much into that side of it yesterday and got away from just trying to get their feet moving and not get as much involved with the game within the game, so to speak?
No, I didn't feel that way. Look, I think some of the guys out there look just worn. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's like maybe it's just the Game 4. You're in the opposing building. You've been sitting around for a couple days waiting. But
how many overtimes have they played? I mean, the Bruins are not a young team.
They also played the Capitals, who are a heavy team, and whether they won in 5 games or not, that's still a heavy team that beats the crap out of you. Whereas Pittsburgh's less physical than Washington. I mean, that's clear.
I wanted Pittsburgh. I've said that for a while.
Especially with that crap goaltender over there. But I don't know. I don't, like I said, I don't feel great about the only good news is you're coming back here. You're coming home. It's a full crowd basically, and that you should feed off that and have some energy. I hope the building will be loud. It seems like people are just happy to be there. Instead of just to be out and about, as opposed to just like watching the game. Obviously, the game is what it is, but they should have some momentum starting Game 5.
Yep. Why do you hate Pierre Maguire?
God, does he suck? Oh my God, does he suck? I think he says nothing of value most of the time. That's why. He just is.
People could say the same thing about us,
Oh yeah, I'm sure they do, and they're not wrong about me. But I would say, Pierre Maguire just gives me nothing. I thought last night, especially, he just sucked. I thought the whole crew last night, and I like John Forsland usually. I think he's pretty good. I thought they all sucked last night. I don't know what it was, but if I hear Old Barn like 7, literally everyone would be like, drunk to the wind because how many times they say Old Barn if you played the drinking game. And overall, Pierre Maguire just sucks.
Why? What is it you don't like?
He chimes in and he says nothing. He tells
you don't like to know where like a guy played his junior league hockey?
No, I don't care. And also, he always, oh my God, if Adam Pelech and Polak, both of them, these guys are not upper echelon defensemen. Pierre, when he talks about these guys, you think they're all world. He just blows everything out of proportion. Look, he's not that bad, but he in my opinion,
he's positive, and that's why you don't like him.
I mean, maybe. But anytime we go in between the glass, I want to just like punch the glass and shatter it.
Bash your head against the glass.
Yeah. No, he's not. He's not that bad. But within the game, there are points where I just think, God, just shut up. And look, people probably say that about me right now, but I would just say, be quiet, Pierre. Nobody cares. Let's watch.
I mean, I do think he goes. There's times where it's like he goes over the top with like pulling out where some guy played like middle school hockey. It's like I don't care about that unless it's like, oh, like Bergeron and Sajak, both had the same middle school coach. Like if it's an actual connection, not just regurgitating this information like your Wikipedia that you know it.
By the way, I'm not the only one that thinks this. There's a lot of people, and not even just about Pierre. A lot of people think this crew that the Bruins and Islanders got are like the D tier crew in terms of like. And
I mean, I hadn't heard them in a long time.
Why the hell did they get these guys for this series? This series is going to be pretty good, but so I'm not the only one. But I will say, in the game, right? There's intense moments. It's butt clenching. That's the best way I can put it, right? And Pierre chimes in, and he sucks. I don't know.
I get at least what did you say? Like, I mean, I think you said it like 5 times last night.
It was bad last
night. You started with the obligatory Pierre sucks text, and then I got it like 4 more times. So I was like, all right, we have to explore this. Why the Pierre? I don't love Pierre. I definitely think there's times he can dial it back a bit because he knows hockey. I mean, he has all this, and in that spot, that's the best place to watch the game. Where you're at, you see so much, you're gonna hear the chirping. There's times where he's really good, but there's other times where, like you say, it's like he's pulling the, oh, this guy is the greatest, defenseman. You don't want to mess with. It's like, no, he's like a D.
Yeah. Like, what are you doing?
But I don't. It bothers you. It doesn't bother me as much.
I don't hate him. I just think when there's like, especially in the playoffs, it's the Stanley Cup playoffs. Shut up for a minute. Like that's all. That's all I need. Just a little bit of quiet time.
You need what you actually want is like Joe Rogan between the glass. Now that would be good. He'll like we have the simulcast of the game on like Cinemax, and Joe Rogan's in between the glass, and he's telling you, oh yeah, this guy just told him to go do something with his mother, and blah blah. You know what I mean? He's actually he's just relaying exactly what the players are saying to each other.
Yeah, that might be more entertaining. I don't know.
Who would be on that crew? You got Joe Rogan between the glass. Who would be on the mics?
All I ask is Doc Emmerich's back.
Oh yeah.
Can he come out of retirement yet?
He did a thing for the Junior Bruins. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
Oh, I gotta pull up where I saw this. He did like a little like appearance type thing. 1M. Where is it? I saw it just earlier today. He did some special thing for the junior Bruins. Yeah, there was only one hockey game that could get the legendary Doc Emmerich out of retirement. Our thanks to NHL and NBC team in the Boston Junior Bruins. So I guess he did something with the Boston Junior Bruins. NBC Sports Boston had this. We'll have to. I don't know. I don't want to play this audio because I don't know. Because it's kind of like a behind the scene, like it's the camera guys for NBC Sports Boston put this together. So I don't know if it's censored or not. But we've got Nick in the. Anytime someone would score a goal, Joe Rogan would say, "Oh!" That's true. Yeah, you'd just be screaming. It would be good. So that's kind of how we feel about the Bruins. I mean, I don't think it would be a choke. It'd be disappointing, but I think given
they should win the series.
They should still win the series. Given the defensive injuries, it has me concerned. Capital C concerned. If Bergeron is actually hurt and they can't win faceoffs, that's also really concerning. But like you said, 2 out of 3 at home. They should be juiced to go home and take care of business in Game 5. If they don't, I think it's going to be really tough to go back to New York and have to win to extend the series. Elsewhere in the NHL, the other series wrapped up and have continued on. Oh my gosh, I don't know. Was it before last Sunday? I can't remember or not, but Can we just have a 1 minute for the Toronto Maple Leafs? Thank you, Toronto, for just giving us
Always giving us happy thoughts.
endless joy. Oh my gosh, I just wanted the shots of the whatchamacallit, like the town center there, where people they'd all gather and then watch that place just disperse.
You could take a shot from the last 10
Jurassic
years
Park.
down. Yeah, you could take a shot from the last 10 years in that same area, and it would all be the same. Just pure disappointment.
And not just losing, but choking.
Oh yeah,
Choking it
especially
away.
against Montreal. Oof, man.
Montreal. Hey, this is the other thing. Could you imagine? It's very much alive right now. Montreal is up 2-0 on Winnipeg. You could get, if the Bruins can take care of business now, there's obviously other teams who are in the way. Colorado looks like a wagon. Tampa Bay.
Man.
But imagine if you had a Bruins-Canadiens Stanley Cup final.
Phenomenal.
Oh my God. That would
That'd
be
phenomenal.
outrageous. So it could happen.
Betting.
But Montreal up 2-0 on Winnipeg. Tampa Bay up 3-1 on Carolina. I mean, we expect them to really take care of business. Colorado's up 2-1 on the Golden Knights. Obviously, Colorado easily handled St. Louis 4-0. The Knights had to gut it out in 7 games against the Wild. Do the Knights have enough in the tank to try and push the Avalanche here, or are the Avs just too much to stop?
Well, it's still balanced right now. The Avs still have home ice, but you're game 4 in Vegas. So, if Vegas wins tonight, I do think they have enough in the tank. Both these teams. I mean, this series is this is the matchup you want to watch if you're outside of the Boston market here. Shameless plug. I would say, this is the series to watch just based on these two teams because they're both really, really good.
Yeah, I agree. So if you have any other NHL thoughts or questions or stuff, you can drop them in the comment section of the live stream. We're broadcasting live on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, and Twitch every Sunday starting at 11. We also put the show out as a podcast through Sounder FM or wherever you get your podcasts from to take the show on the go if you can't watch us live. You can also email the show, the 360 Sports Show @gmail.com. We're going to transition here now to the NBA.
Let's do this, huh? This is what I've been waiting for this since this news broke to hear your crap take. So I can't wait. Let's hear it.
All right. So for those who may have missed it, if you've been living under a rock, Celtics were eliminated by the Brooklyn Nets. The gentleman's sweep. Obviously, Tatum was phenomenal in Game 3. Game 4 started good, ended bad. And then Game 5 was competitive until, honestly, the last couple minutes. I mean, I thought the Celtics hung in there much longer than they probably could have, given, in the first half, Tatum only scored, 6 points.
He ended with 34, though. So.
Ended with 34. So, the Celtics, we knew, without Jaylen Brown, they weren't going to go anywhere. They weren't. And even with Jaylen Brown, you were hoping for they find something, they get it kind of going. Who knows? Rob Williams stays healthy, which didn't happen. Kemba plays well. Didn't happen. Maybe, but you were playing the Nets in round 1. It would have been a monumental upset. In retrospect, they probably would have been better off losing to the Wizards, beating the Pacers, and being the 8th seed, because you would have played the Sixers, who you're inside their heads, and they lost Embiid. So you could have pulled one of those, like when D Rose went down in 2012 and the Sixers beat them as the 1 seed. You could have gotten something like that and avoided Milwaukee and Brooklyn till the conference final. But anyway, that's a whole little sideshow aside. You're eliminated. I'd say the feeling after that series ended was man, there's got to be some changes. We had talked already the week before, 2 weeks ago, whispers. Does Danny Ainge need to step away? Is it time for a change there? Then the comments come out. He's kind of downplaying, if racism happens in Boston. Then those comments from 2019 surface where he's kind of disparaging the opinions of players, especially with everything that's happened in the past year, which publicly he has been on board with. Maybe privately, is it just time? Is this guy, he kind of sounded like the, get off my lawn kind of thing. Is it just time for Danny to go? Do they need somebody else? We all kind of said, does Brad, I didn't think that they needed to fire Brad, but if Brad got fired, we wouldn't sit there and say, that's totally shocking. They could have just made the assessment that this team needs something different. It happens. It happens to great coaches who have won. Terry Francona with the Red Sox. Claude Julien here with the Bruins. Like, it just happens. And you're wondering, how long is it going to take? When is a change going to happen? Not 24 hours after, like 12 hours after they have been eliminated. And I said, I think Danny Ainge is done that night at the game. He looked horrible in Game 5 when they'd cut to him. Celtics call a press conference, and we find out before the press conference that Danny Ainge is stepping down and that Brad Stevens is going to ascend to president of basketball operations. Talk about change. So, yes, we get a new coach. That team's getting a new voice. But they're now getting a new GM. And I'll let you go first in this, Christian, because I have my kind of assessment of why I think it's going to be successful in the short term and why it works. I still think it's really weird because Brad in his press conference, Danny stepping away could be for any number of reasons. They actually wanted to force him out. He wanted to just leave because he was fed up. Whatever the reason is, he's gone. But Brad wasn't like, oh, I'm the best GM for this team, so that's why I'm taking it, which is kind of what he said. But he literally said, oh, a team could use a fresh voice. It's like, nobody asked Brad the pointed question. Brad, is that because your voice wasn't good enough? Like, nobody really held his feet to the fire on that.
Can I answer that?
But it's really weird, right? I know your answer is going to be yes. And Brad is telling you that's the answer. It's just so weird for that guy to go from, I'm not good enough to be, or not that I'm not good enough, but my voice isn't the right voice to be the coach of this team anymore. But now I'm going to be the GM. It's just so bizarre. I know contract could have something to do with that. It's very bizarre.
Could have.
If both were just fired, we would sit here and say, like, wow, that's big. But you know what? The organization has decided it's time for a change. They're fed up. You kind of have this weird middle ground of, like, Brad's telling you he wasn't good enough, but now he's going to be the GM. I still think it can be successful. And I'll let you kind of say your piece on this, and we'll come back to that. But just your reaction. I mean, it's just a very weird. It didn't take any time for them to make changes, but it's a very weird situation.
First of all, I'm shocked that you think it will be successful. That is
No,
so
you're not.
unlike you. But here's where I'll start. Good that something was changed. But Brad Stevens as the head of basketball ops, I don't think it'll work as of right now. Just my early assessment is he's there because he got a 6-year contract with a lot of money on it, and they're not going to fire him, have him sit around, and just collect a paycheck. So, thank you, Danny Ainge, for leaving, I guess. But now, Brad Stevens he got a downwards upwards promotion. It's kind of a weird thing.
He failed up.
He fired himself as a coach, but then he failed up. That's a good way to put it. So I just don't understand. I do because it's the money. That's why I think he's there. I think it's good that they're going to get a new voice in the locker room. I think that's why maybe it could work. But does Brad Stevens know anything about being the president of basketball operations? Don't think so. He's been in coaching his whole life. So I don't really know what the plan is. I assume they will make some changes on the roster. And if he was the coach and had input on the roster, I'd feel maybe a little bit better. I don't feel great about Brad Stevens wheeling and dealing for whatever. I don't know. I think maybe he has an insight on what the roster needs because he coached it. But does that mean he's just going to make everything happen like in the snap of his fingers? Not really. He's got a lot of decisions to make. And I'll be honest, I don't trust that he will do a great job look, Danny Ainge was what he was. He had one title. He probably should have had more. But he was a decent, solid GM, right? Or president of basketball ops, whatever you want to call it. He was solid at his job. And if he was really interested, he would have another opportunity out there.
If Gordon Hayward doesn't shatter his ankle, Danny Ainge might be a Hall of Fame executive for winning a title in '08, constructing it the way he did, tearing it down, building it back, and then opening up what could have been a 4, 5, 6, 7 year window of Kyrie, Gordon Hayward, and Horford leading right into Tatum and Brown. And it's like, this is unbelievable. It all ended with Hayward's ankle.
Yeah.
That's the flex.
That was the beginning of the end. But
Yeah.
also, I don't know if Kyrie even maybe if they're more successful, Kyrie stays. But I also think he's a weird man, so I'm not sure, what happens there. He's a weird individual. He's a higher being than
As
the
Buzz
rest of us.
Lightyear once said to Woody, "You're a sad, strange little man."
Yeah,
and I pity you.
Pretty much, yeah. So I don't know how it all works out, but obviously that is a huge, huge factor in all these changes. Is it all stems from that trade and the free agent signing of Gordon Hayward, and your season looks a hell of a lot different if he doesn't get injured, probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, I look. My thoughts are what they are. I'm negative by default, but also in this case, I think I have a reason to be negative because this guy is coming into a job where I think it's just because he has money owed on his contract, not because he can do the job. So let's hear some great, positively, great, wonderful takes.
Here's the other side of the coin. There's nothing you said that's wrong or inaccurate. It could completely. It's just the money. We just want to keep you here, and it could just all blow up. It could be really bad. But if you want to look on the bright side of life,
I don't.
refuse. Then close the blinds there, Christian. Put yourself in the dark room, your dark space. Brad Stevens has coached this team, and when I say this team, I'm thinking about this iteration of the team now, the last 2 years, or last 3 years, really. 18-19, when you still had Kyrie, and all that starting to, it just started to boil in a weird way.
What does democracy mean to you?
And yeah, all that. Then 19-20, they get Kemba. They tried to just replace Kyrie and remain in a competitive space for a conference title that year. Now, they obviously got to a conference championship last year, didn't pan out. Then you come into this year thinking we're running it back, but then the COVID injury, blah, blah, blah. I think Brad knows, every coach knows deep down exactly what a team needs. He certainly knows the players are the type of players they need because he said it multiple times during the course of the year and especially towards the end, criticizing the roster. And he'd do it in veiled ways. Well, we're really small. It's just, we're small. We're not a good matchup. With the Bulls, the 20-win Bulls, you're not a good matchup for? He was calling out Danny Ainge and his job and the construction of the roster. So he knows, and this all started, I've said this, Danny Ainge played chicken with the Indiana Pacers. They should have had Miles Turner and Doug McDermott. A big who can block shots and shoot, and a three-point marksman off the bench. You ended up having to trade assets to go get Evan Fournier, who might walk anyways, to get that on this team, to try and force it onto this team. And obviously you were undersized the whole year. And Tristan Thompson, while he brought you some tenacity, I thought, in the playoffs, I was impressed. I didn't look at him as much of a negative as I did earlier on in the year. He still just didn't fit this team. An undersized center who's older that doesn't have offense. I mean, he's a decent rebounder, right? But his defense, his actual defense, left a lot to be desired from what you thought you were going to be getting from him. So Brad knows the players that need to put on this team to have it compete. He also knows these players' minds, and he said it. He literally said it with a smile that sometimes you just need a different voice. He knows the exact type of personality, which I said people wanted Brad to freak out on the players. I think Brad knows that he couldn't. If he threw a fit at them, they're going to be like, all right, dude, when did you ever play in the conference finals? So I just feel like Brad knew enough about himself to know I can't be that guy. He's going to pick the guy. He's going to pick the right coach for this team right now, and he's going to at least try. We all know it takes two to tango if you want to get a deal done to trade for somebody. Usually comes down to money if you want to sign somebody, so they got some work to do there to free up some money. But I think he's going to be able, in the short term, identify the players and identify the coach. Now, obviously, there's a million variables. That coach has to then work out right. You have to be able to pull off those deals. I think short term, it has the potential to pay off big time because the insights from having coached the team will help him make really informed decisions about what it needs right now. Going forward, long term, I kind of don't see how it's going to... The dude's going to want to coach again. He's 44 years old. So unless it's he's going to like get this team into a place where it like has a coach that wins a title and then in 2 or 3 years that coach is kind of he wears out his welcome and Brad just wants to step on back onto the Celtics sideline. Like, do you think... This is my question to you, Christian. Does Brad Stevens coach again in the NBA?
Yes, probably not for the Celtics, but yes.
But okay, so not for the Celtics. So long term, I don't think it's a good play. But short term, like 2, 3, 4, he says, "Oh, I'm going to be here. It's banner 18 or die." That sounds nice. Thank you. That sounds nice. I don't know unless they win banner 18 next year and he decides, "Well, I sold you banner 18. Now I want to go coach the Utah Jazz." I don't see long term. I don't see Brad Stevens being in this position for like 18, 19, 20 years.
I don't even think short term. I think someone else could put you in a better position. Are you saying they're going to hire the right coach? I don't believe that yet. I think Brad could also go another way and just go find himself another Brad to fill in what Brad did.
He just hires Jay Larinaga to be the head coach,
or some guy from college. I know there's a number of names out there.
Who do you want? Who do you want for head coach? I got 2 names. I have 2 names that I want.
I have a few names. Chauncey Billups.
That's one of mine.
Juwan Howard.
No.
Sam Cassell.
Yes. I'm down with Sam Cassell or Chauncey Billups because even though it was for a short time, Chauncey had played here. He knows Boston a bit. He knows he's been part of this Celtics thing.
He also won on that Pistons team.
And what? He's a winner?
He was a leader on that.
Dude's got balls. Billups missed a big shot. I would like Chauncey Billups. That's a guy that can command the room. Same with Sam Cassell. Dude won 3 rings. 2 in his rookie and second year, and then one right towards the end with the Celtics. He's been here. He's worked with Doc most of his coaching life. So I think that dude has been groomed for the position. He would come in here. He'd be able to command the room. He'd be able to relate to the players. And he'd also be able to kind of speak to the Celtics thing that he was a part of. And about winning. I remember there's a quote from 2008. Ray Allen was talking about Game 4 against the Lakers where they're down 24 and they're making a comeback. And Ray says, I remember Sam Cassell on the bench, who did not see a minute of action in that game, I don't think, was saying to us, this is what it feels like. This is how hard it is to win a championship. This is how hard you have to fight for it. That always just kind of stuck with me. That's the type of message I think that this team would need. A guy who's won rings to literally be saying to them, all right, see how hard we're playing? See how it's playing? This is going to be hard. I've been there. I've done it. This is now what you have to do. So Cassell or Billups, Juwan Howard, I just, it's one of those things. Why hasn't he gotten an opportunity yet?
He's at Michigan.
Yeah. And I think he's happy to,
Michigan.
And I think he might be just happy to be at Michigan. So I don't want a guy who's just like, oh, you want me to be an NBA coach? Cool.
No, I don't think that. I don't think Juwan Howard's reputation suits that. I think he's a tough guy, and he wants to. He was on those Miami teams. Obviously, he's at Michigan because his kids are there.
Would I be upset with him? No, but he's not my first or second choice.
Here's what I'll say. Here's the one caveat. It's got to be a guy that Brown and Tatum want. More notably Tatum, because I think Tatum is more.
Well, Tatum wants Evan Turner.
Yeah, I saw that.
I don't know if he was joking or not, though. That's all a tough thing. You never know.
Yeah, but I mean, I want a guy with some cred, but also it's got to be a guy that they want. More notably Tatum, because I think he's more likely to go form his own super team in 3 years if they don't get stuff on the right track in Boston itself. So It's got to be a guy that they want, and it's got to be a guy that I feel like has played in the league, has some cred in the league, understands what it takes, and kind of that whole grind of an NBA season, and get them in shape.
Now, you keep saying guy. Becky Hammon and Carol Larson are going to get some attention here.
Boston should get a crack, in my opinion.
I believe they're both qualified and capable to be coaches in the NBA. Hammond should have been last year.
I think she's waiting for Pop, though. I don't know
just take over for the Spurs.
If I'm the Celtics,
Easy.
I would go Lawson over Hammond, just based on, Lawson was here when the Celtics had some success. Players liked her, the locker room liked her, and also I think she knows a lot about the game. She's with Duke, for God's sake. So it's not like she's just some random way. She played in women's basketball, but now she's a coach. No, she's got some cred.
Does that matter for the like what we've talked about with the psychology of Tatum and Brown and what we think they need? Does it matter that she won and was an elite and a high level player in the WNBA versus the NBA? Not that she's not a capable coach, but for what this team seems to lack and need, does it matter if it's from a man or a woman?
It shouldn't. No, I don't.
Obviously, it shouldn't, but will it?
In my opinion, if it's the right like someone like Carol Lawson, I think would be successful in the NBA. Same with Hammond. They both have already been in the locker room in an NBA environment. They also played at a high level. So I think one of them, someone like that, if you're talking about just making a random jump now from WNBA right into coaching in the NBA, head coach out of nowhere, no. But someone that has cred, they've been in an NBA locker room, it doesn't matter. If you're talking Carol Lawson versus Sam Cassell, it all depends on, do the players want either of them? And to me, in my opinion, the most important thing is getting a person in there, man, woman, whatever, alien, it doesn't matter, as long as Tatum and Brown, they feel like that is the next head coach of the Boston Celtics.
Yeah. I'll say this. I want to see Hammond and Lawson succeed in the NBA because I think they both definitely have the chops to do it. I feel like coming to this team, a little bit of that, like, will their psychology work out with them? But also the unfair expectation. People, whoever this coach is going to be, they're going to want a title in like 2 years. And I just feel like it's an unfair expectation to put on them.
Oh, we got some breaking news.
Oh, go ahead. Breaking news.
The Tennessee Titans are trading for Julio Jones.
Oh, my gosh.
The Falcons reportedly sending star wide receiver to Tennessee for at least a second-round pick. Let me just make sure this is legitimate.
Yeah. Did you not verify? You got Barry McCockernerd?
Yeah. But as of right now, if this loads...
Well, I'll let you ferret that out, and I'll finish my point.
According to Ian Rappaport. So Ian Rappaport is Julio to the Titans.
Wow. Well, if we can wrap it, we'll get to that in a second. We'll finish that out. I mean, depends on what it costs. Patriots fans, will you be upset if the asking price was only a second-round pick, and you could have had Julio Jones?
Okay, here's Diana Rossini. Just before you finish your point, is the Falcons are expected to trade Julio Jones to the Titans, barring any setbacks, in the next 24 to 48 hours. Two sides are final in compensation, but as one source said, I feel very good about this happening if there are no snags. So the trade official should
snags, i.e., Bill picks up the phone and calls Rabel.
Yeah, so it should be official Monday. But hey, I don't know.
We'll see.
There you go.
I just think it's going to be. I want to see Hammond or Lawson get their shot with like a rebuilding team. Like get in a situation where they're going to be given like 3, 4, 5 years. Like the Magic look like they're going to tear it down. Like they just let Steve Clifford go. That'd be a great spot. Get in there. You're not going to be expected to win a championship. You can pick your players without the pressure and really build a competitive team from the ground up. Coming to Boston, if they don't win a chip in like 2-3 years, I know the Celtics don't fire people. Evidently, it'd be unfair, and I would hate to see it. What'll happen is if they don't win a title, they'll look at it and say like, "Oh, see, a woman coach can't succeed." And then it just would like...
There's always going to be that stupid.
I guess.
I will say this. I actually kind of disagree. I don't think the head coach here is going to have the amount of pressure that maybe Stevens or the front office does in order to make changes on this roster. Because after the season, I think they're more in line with okay, yes, we're striving for a championship, but how about let's right the ship here a little bit?
Okay,
We want
so
to be a
that
6th or 7th seed in the East? No.
that brings me to the next point, which is what will be the expectation in the direction of the team. Everybody wants to try and swing for the fences this year to try and get this team to win a title, and I think that is the complete wrong approach. We tried to do that in 18-19 and in 19-20, and it hasn't worked. Since, we can draw the line all the way back where kind of this timeline here started to go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
The Indiana Pacers decided to rush and trade Paul George because they were worried that the Celtics wouldn't be able to sign Gordon Hayward and the Celtics wouldn't want to do their deal, which would have involved way more players and better. They would have gotten lottery picks out of it. But the Pacers rushed. They trade Paul George to the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that, the Celtics signed Gordon Hayward. They've got some leftover money, so what do? They trade for Kyrie Irving. And that kind of set off this whole chain of events. Hayward hurts his leg, blah, blah, blah. You could have had a big four of Isaiah Thomas, Horford, Hayward, Paul George, veteran role players. You drafted Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Those guys are kind of like your young bench stars ascending. Horford and Hayward kind of age out. Those two guys kind of fill in. That's what was supposed to kind of be this like, wow, we compete for a decade. It could go for 12 years. Hayward gets hurt. The young guys ascend too quickly. It causes friction. Kyrie wants to be part of a veteran team, not a young team. Brad wants a veteran team. Danny wants the young team. And it all just starts to kind of unravel from there. Right now, forget trying to like justify that all the moves you've made to now have led to something and just say, it went bad. But we have Tatum and Brown. And we're going to build around them. Kemba Walker was really nice to get when you got him. Because you kind of felt like, well, we lost Kyrie, but we signed a big-time free agent. It was a splash. It didn't work out. You did not get Kemba what you were expecting, especially for what you're paying him. Move on from Kemba Walker. I don't care if you have to throw in Romeo Langford to get him out of here, along with a first-round pick. Get him off your books. And now you have Tatum and Brown, and Peyton Pritchard could be your point guard next year. And on the cheap, while you kind of start to tinker and get this thing in a direction where, because you have Tatum and Brown, they are so young. You can compete for 10, 12 years and be kind of, forget the fact that you went to 3 out of 4 conference finals. Start now and say we have Tatum and Brown, maybe just really hitting their strides, and we're going to go from there. I want Kemba gone, and I don't want to replace him with another like guy. I'm sorry. Damian Lillard. I love Damian Lillard. He's an awesome player. He's phenomenal. I am not trading for Damian Lillard. Why are we going to replace like 30-year-old point guard with a guy north of 30 who's going to get paid a boatload? Christian,
I saw
hold on.
I saw you talking, but all I heard was I hate good players.
Okay, yes, I knew this was what you were going to say. But think about it. It's been diminishing returns since Isaiah Thomas. They replaced him with Kyrie. It should have worked out. It didn't. They should not have signed Kemba Walker. They should have said, you know what? Marcus Smart, you're our point guard. We'll just use this money on something else. And it's Tatum and Brown. Smart's the point guard with kind of the leadership stuff going on, but we're going to fill out the rest of the roster. That is more important right now. If you have, we get somebody to take Kemba Walker off our hands, and then we trade a boatload of our younger player, like we trade some of these picks, like we trade Nesmith and first-round picks and something else. Maybe Marcus Smart, too, because you got to get salaries to match. And you have, 31-year-old Damian Lillard, Jaylen Brown, if you're able to keep him in that trade, and Jason Tatum. And no money and nothing else on this team? Is that better than what you had this year?
Yes.
I don't think it is. So I'd rather say Tatum Brown, get Kemba gone, and go out and just start to put the right pieces around. Brad, from what we heard in that press conference, wants veteran players. Not Semi Ojeleye and Romeo Langford and Carson Edwards. We're going to find out real quick how much he likes some of these guys, because some of those guys, Scal alluded to it, they better be calling their agents, because some of them are going to get blown out of here.
Brad actually doesn't want those guys. That makes 2 of us. So, let's actually build a team here this year. Maybe that would be useful instead of taking all these young draft picks. Ooh, that's the one thing that maybe will change is we stop drafting guys in the first and second round.
Hoarding picks.
And, yeah, hoarding them all and saving them for the freaking
Yam Mater over in Israel. He's going to come and save the day. Thanks, Danny.
Great.
Do you agree? I mean, do you disagree? I know you're going to say the whole thing, I don't like good players. Would you rather have we get rid of Kemba and then we just kind of, it's Tatum and Brown, and then because you bring in Damian Lillard, what are you giving up? How does that affect your flexibility? We want the flexibility, right? Everybody's trying to trade. What happens if Dame's ankles start to go bad after year one? It's like, well, we got him on the books for $40 million the next 3 years, can't make any moves. Well, and then we're just wasting Tatum and Brown, and then the team sucks, and then they decide to leave. I'd rather go all in on those guys and just reset the clock here. Guys, we're resetting the clock. It's your team. You're going to learn how to really win. You have the experience of being there with veteran teams. They got there. Last year was a little different, but the bubble was different too. Mm-hmm. The years they made the conference finals was with veteran teams. It's Jay Crowder and Avery Bradley and Horford and Isaiah. It's like those weren't the same. Tatum and Brown were role players on those teams. So
here's the thing. I think the Celtics. What I learned in the playoffs, at least when the Celtics played the Nets and lost ultimately, but one thing that I took away from that series is Tatum is going to be the real deal.
Yes.
And going toe-to-toe with Durant, Kyrie, with a bunch of crap around you is pretty
in sync. JT and 4 other guys.
Yeah. Which, was impressive. So you're a piece away, but you're also a number of pieces away in terms of bench pieces and things like that. So Brad's got to reset the roster a little bit. I do agree with that. I do agree getting Kemba off the books would be ideal. Will he do that? I don't know, because he has ties to Kemba, and they like Kemba. So will they do that? No idea.
You're going to have to pay somebody to do it. Nobody's just going to take him for pittance.
But there will be a way to do it if you really want to. So
yes.
That would be my thing. Now, I will say, yes, I would 100% take Damian Lillard on this team. It just depends on what you're giving up.
Yeah. Obviously, if you could give up Kemba for Dame, they're just like, yeah, sure, we'll do the swap.
I wouldn't do that. No.
I'm just saying, in an ideal world, I'm not saying I wouldn't want Damian Lillard. For what it would cost you to get him, and also having to cost you to get rid of Kemba, unless they want to swap him. If they would say, hey, Kemba, Marcus Smart, and picks for Damian Lillard, I drive both of them to the Moda Center myself.
I will tell you, you still hate good players, which is fine. I understand that because you like Neesmith and those guys. But the most important thing for Brad to do this year is reset the money, reset the books, and kind of they need players around. Whether that's signed Fournier, maybe if he's willing to sign here for 15 to 16, 17 million dollars, sure. I'm not paying him probably 20 or above. Nope. I think that's a little bit of a stretch.
For a guy that's not, he competes, but he's not like that good defensively. He's just a 3 guy.
Yeah.
Not 20 million
bucks. I would take him to come off the bench for like 15 to 17 million. So sure, if it's a guy like that. If not, you go elsewhere and you get that, from someone else. But ultimately, you want to reset the roster here. Get guys like Ojale and the Murder Cornet, and let's get some real bench players in here to help the 2 young budding superstars. Because I tell you what, in 3 years, there's a higher chance of Jason Tatum leaving to go play with Brad Beal than there is with Brad Beal coming here. That's what it sounds like to me anyway. So I would worry about them both running here if the Celtics don't do anything to help them.
Yeah.
If the roster looks pretty similar the next 2-3 years as it did this year, those guys are gone. I have no doubt about that. So you have to reset the roster here. It's got to be Kemba, I would assume. If you can get a guy like Lillard or Beal, and Smart has to be part of that, maybe you do it.
What if Jaylen Brown's part of it?
I don't think so.
I agree. Yeah. It should be JB and JT, and then you fill the rest of the team around it, and let it be their team. You trade Jaylen Brown as part of getting Damian Lillard. What are we doing here? I feel like you're just kind of spinning your wheels. Is Damian Lillard and Jason Tatum and a whole bunch of veteran minimum crap going to help you beat the Nets?
Maybe. Damian Lillard's
a ball hog.
Oh, my God. I hate good players.
No,
I hate good players.
I'm just saying, the dude's he's a ball stopper. I mean, it's true. I mean,
he also puts the ball in the hoop, which is kind of a key component of the NBA.
True.
Peyton Pritchard or Damian Lillard? Go.
Peyton, Jesus.
Yeah, I knew it. I knew you were going to say Peyton Pritchard. Stop that right there. We're good. All we needed to hear. Peyton Pritchard is better than Damian Lillard. You heard it here first, everybody.
You got me. No, again, it's about fit. Would I take Damian Lillard with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum? Yes. I think if you have to,
that's all I needed from this show.
If you have to give up Jaylen Brown to get Damian Lillard, I'm not doing it.
I didn't say Jaylen Brown. If you could give up, what about Smart?
Yes. I want this trade. I want to trade Marcus Smart to get Steven Adams. He would fit great in New Orleans with what they're building there. He would bring some veteran leadership, a guy that's some scrappiness. Because they lost Holiday, he would kind of replace Holiday on that team, that Pat Bev role, that thing. Steven Adams isn't really going to have a place there after this year. He would be great. Steven Adams with Rob Williams. That's a good 1-2 punch at your center position. You just completely shored up your front court.
Well, Rob Williams has to stay on the court, though.
Yes, but I'm saying Rob would come off the bench. Rob would be more of the matchup center. Hey, we want a guy that's just going to run the rim more, a little more pop. We play Rob. We just want a guy that's going to be stout in there. We play Adams.
I think Rob would be. I think he was a bright spot this year, but unfortunately, he can't stay healthy. So whether that's the bench or starting, he's got to stay healthy. The other thing is,
I would trade Marcus Smart and Rob Williams to get Damian Lillard. I would do that. I just don't want to lose the flexibility, and I don't want to have to give up so much because you're going to have to give up something to get rid of Kemba, and unless the Trailblazers want Kemba, you're going to have to give up things to get rid of Kemba and give up things to get Lillard, and I just feel like you're kind of then left with a very, very bare cupboard in a team that if it doesn't win in 1 or 2 years, like you're in the situation like you said, Jaylen and Jason are just walking to go play elsewhere.
Sure, yeah.
Colin in the comment section says, "Hey Christian, remember when I had Dame in my top 5 players remaining in the playoff bubble after Kyrie was out last year, and you essentially laughed me off the show?"
Yeah, I still would. He's not in the top 5 of players left in the bubble. What are you talking about? You probably had like Peyton Pritchard in your top 5 this year too, I bet. You and Andrew both.
So I just don't think, why are we trying to replace that? Does this team need a point guard like Damian Lillard, or do they need a guy to facilitate Tatum and Brown?
Well,
like an actual point guard.
I don't want Rondo around.
No, not Rondo. I'm saying the Rondo type, a guy that's going to facilitate.
Well, yeah, that would work better, I think. Someone that can play defense too. That would be nice. Or at least compete in the end. Because look, I mean, you switch Kemba, you switch Kyrie, guys like that. They don't play that much defense. They're smaller, undersized guards. Yeah. So Smart in that role is nice because he can play a bit of defense. But if you're trading, the only way I'm trading Smart, like I like Smart, but if there's a player available that's better, I think you have to pull the trigger on that. And Steven Adams is a good one because I think he fits the mold of what the Celtics truly need.
Yeah.
They haven't had a true big in how long? I mean, it's like
since Aaron Baines left.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. But I'm talking like Steven Adams, I think, is better than Baines or a guy like that. But I would take Damian Lillard absolutely on this team, but I'm not giving up too much that like you don't have a team to field.
But you'd have to. Portland isn't gonna give him up for less.
Yeah, probably. But you could throw in a number of picks, and we know how that goes. You can throw in a pick from like 20. What year are we in?
Well, but the thing is, you're gonna have to give up unless they take Kemba. This is where people drive me crazy because they're like, just give them all the first round picks. In the NBA, you have to match the salary.
Well, yeah, Kemba would have to be going, obviously.
So if they don't want Kemba, if they don't want to take him, if they don't just say, we don't want Kemba Walker and a boatload of picks, you're gutting this roster.
Yeah.
And then you have Kemba and Lillard, and somebody still has to take Kemba off your hands.
Oh, well, no, you're not.
That's why I just think it's people need to just forget about doing a deal like that. Don't do it.
Walker, my number one on the wish list is still Bradley Beal. But I don't know how that happens.
I'd be game with that because he's a wing guy. He'd be a wing guy.
Jaylen Brown, though, I don't think you can make that happen. So, look, there's a lot of questions for the Celtics offseason, right? And I think the number one thing for Brad and those guys, Zarin and Austin Ainge is you have to obviously make your draft picks, sure. But it's important to get guys that are reputable on the bench as opposed to you go all the way down the line. Ojale, Cornette, Neesmith, all these guys, you need someone that comes off the bench that is reputable and that has had an NBA, some type of NBA career. That's the most important thing, to reset the roster and get guys around Brown and Tatum that makes it look at least like the trajectory is headed upwards. Same with the coach. The coach is going to be a big part of this whole offseason.
It's going to come quick, by the way. I mean, the combine starts in, what, 2 weeks? Less than 2 weeks?
Less, I think, yeah.
They're gonna pick a coach soon because they're not going to want to go through the draft and all that without a coach. They did that in 2013. You know, they hired Brad after the draft. Yeah. They drafted Kelly Olynyk.
Oh, God. I mean, look, it's
who would you rather have, Giannis or Kelly Olynyk?
Probably Kelly, honestly. Let me be you. Olynyk. No, I think obviously Giannis was a big one, but at least that wasn't like a lot of teams passed on Giannis. God.
Oh well, yeah, it was a project. It was a and going to somewhere like Milwaukee where there was not going to be this like you got to save us. Like he got to grow into his body, grow into his game, and left to just be him, and that's what he's done.
The worst part is that was the one project Danny Ainge didn't want any part of for some reason. So other than that, give me any project you want that's going to take 50 years to actually play in the NBA, and I'm good. Giannis, nah.
Well, we want Gershon Yabusele.
Yeah, we want Yabu.
The dancing bear.
Playing in France. I think he's overseas now again, isn't he?
Might be. Former Celtics Shane Larkin won a championship. European Cup.
He's a guy that I wouldn't mind. He's like Wanamaker. Those guys are solid.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Larkin doesn't have a spot in the NBA, or maybe he just likes it over there. I don't know.
Yeah. Hey, those guys make good money. It's like, look at Stephon Marbury. Is he still balling it up, winning championships? Him and Jimmy Fredette over in China?
Yeah. Stephon Marbury. Jeez.
Starbury.
Look, I think I'll just leave you with this. I mean, I think the Celtics have the number one question is who's going to be the coach? And then from there, it's a roster reset. Now, that's not to say the roster has to be complete crap, right? They can reset it and still get good players and be reputable, but they can't be living on the edge of like the 7 to 12 seed every year.
No.
You got to be in the mix.
But you should be back to forget about we're going to the finals this year and having all this swagger and walking around. No. If it's Jalen and Jason's team, you kind of like think about how like what the Raptors were for years, and they were like knocking on the door. Now, yes, it took trading DeMar DeRozan to bring in Kawhi Leonard to get there, and then obviously injuries in the finals for the Warriors. But guys like Lowry, like they were viewed as losers. They lost a lot before they found that like winning gene and clutch gene.
Yeah.
LeBron was a loser. He was a great player who was losing in the playoffs every year, and is just not achieving enough for 10 years before he won a final. Like, it's gonna take time. And I think we just have to. We've said this. We just have to reset for Jalen and Jason. I know you got a scoop, Christian. Do you want to throw 1 point here at all about this Julio Jones trade? If it does happen, and if it's for a second-round pick, and that's it for Julio Jones to the Tennessee Titans, are you mad that the New England Patriots couldn't find a way to make that work?
Kind of. It's just a second-rounder. Yeah, I would have done a second and maybe even like a fifth. Throw in something else. Sure, why not? Get all the good players that you can. Especially, I mean, Jones is also not a guy that's just like your standard A.J. Green, Randy Moss deep threat. Just run down the field and catch it. No, he can go over the middle. He can do a number of different things from different spots. That's a guy that would make you a contender, especially in the wide receiver spot where I think you could still use some help if you're the Patriots, right? It's not like they're as bad as last year, but it still comes down to, unfortunately, I won't have time to hit on the Cam Newton injury, but it still comes down to the guy throwing the ball. I just don't know, like, does Julio even want to play here? Like, I think he's buddies with Cam Newton.
Well, maybe he saw Cam hurt his hand and was like, that's it.
Yeah.
Not going there.
For a second-round pick, I absolutely would have done it. Now, we'll see what the final tally is, but I have a feeling the Patriots could easily have made a deal that's same as the Titans, because I don't think the Titans have any real, it's not like they have all these assets that they can get rid of. So it's probably going to be a number of picks, maybe even just a second. So I would have absolutely pulled the trigger on that. And I'm surprised that other teams haven't already. Seattle, teams like that. If it's just a second-rounder, man, teams whiffed on that one.
Yeah. So, anyway, Christian is going to depart us. He's got a birthday brunch. So we forgot to mention this. a happy birthday to Christian. His birthday was earlier this week. I know I expressed that to you, but just here on the show, little. For he's a jolly good fellow. Don't be so happy, damn you.
But you know what? It's been a wild year, but hey, we've made it to kind of like the summertime, and it feels like we're getting back. We've seen crowds in stadiums, which is kind of nice. So it's been an okay start this summer.
Eventually, we will both be in the same room, and when I say I don't want to trade Peyton Pritchard for Damian Lillard, I don't know why the Pritchard came out of my mouth first. Freudian slip. You can actually just smack me. People will see the hand come across.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't do that. I'm too nice for that.
Okay. Well, enjoy your brunch, and we will soldier on here for the last little tidbits of sports information. So take it easy, Christian.
Let's go Floyd Mayweather.
Oh, yes. So we'll hit on that. You going to watch?
Listening.
You watching?
No.
Okay. Didn't think so. It's
But
too
I'll be
late.
listening.
So yeah, as Christian departs here, we'll hit on that real quick. Tonight, the Floyd Mayweather Logan Paul fight. So we'll see. I think obviously all these celebrity exhibition matches are kind of a gimmick. But hey, you know what? Well, I don't know if necessarily I'll watch. I'll definitely try and go somewhere where somebody's watching. I don't know if I myself want to pay for it. But is this what boxing has come to? We've just got this gimmick where we're going to have boxer from the past fight your favorite YouTube celebrity, and I guess we're going to tune. I mean, I think personally it's a win-win if they actually fight. Logan has the chance to just knock the teeth right out of Floyd because he's got the reach, he's got the size. I mean, he's weighed in like 30-something pounds heavier than Floyd. Like, that's crazy. Or if Floyd, as being the more technical boxer and, just efficient and perfect from that standpoint, could just outbox him and, yeah, maybe he wins on the card. Or he could also, knock him out as well. In which case, it's a win-win for the viewer. So, we'll see. That's like at God knows when. That's another problem boxing has. The main card is on, 11-something at night? Oh, God. Nick points out Chad Ochocinco is on the undercard of that fight. Who is he fighting? Oh, boy. Well, Chad, I mean, didn't we learn this with Nate Robinson? Snoop said it. You don't play boxing? Oh, man. Let's see. Let's see. That's the other thing. Chad Johnson, didn't he... I guess he's Chad Johnson again now. Didn't he talk about how he would throw up before every game? This headline says, scared Chad Johnson feels your football nerves before boxing debut. 43, Brian Maxwell, who I don't know anything about. Let's see if this has... It doesn't really have any information on Maxwell. We'll see, man. Oh, boy. I feel like that could end ugly. That could end real ugly for Chad there. So we'll pay attention. But hey, this is the problem boxing has. Like I said, you're going at like 11 something at night for the main event. Like who wants to stay up? Who wants to pay to stay up to see exhibition boxing? Put that at 6 o'clock at night. People will still pay to watch. Probably more people would pay to watch. Honestly, we'd rather be drinking and watching it at 6 o'clock at night. That way we can go to bed on time for work tomorrow. So anyways, me and Christian hit through most of all the NBA and NHL stuff. And obviously the Stanley Cup playoffs are continuing. NBA playoffs are continuing. The Celtics stuff. We're going to have a lot happening in the next couple of weeks, but we'll have all offseason to kind of pick apart the moves and what they should do. Maybe we'll even get Matt Murphy back on here with us to kind of break some of it down and what makes sense from the numbers standpoint. Like I said, Damian Lillard would be great. Dame Lillard would be awesome. Replacing Kemba with him, awesome. As long as he stays healthy. I just worry with all these point guards over 30. We're just trying to keep getting the next guy. It's like diminishing returns. I'd worry about that. But if you could swap Kemba and some picks and throw in Romeo Langford, even Marcus Smart, I'd do that. I just worry they're not going to want Kemba, and you're going to have to give up way more. Then you have to give up something to get somebody to take Kemba off your hands, and what are you left with? What if they want Jaylen Brown? I'm not giving up Jaylen Brown for Damian Lillard. I'm not. Doesn't mean I don't think Damian Lillard is an all-time, all-world player. I'm just, for what I want this team to do and build and grow, I just think you have to keep Brown and Tatum together at all costs. That's going to give you the best chance to build and succeed for a long time. Because you're not going to be able to pull a Brooklyn Nets trade again where you give away like Tatum and get like a team that's going to go immediately in the tank and you get all their lottery picks for the next 5 years. It's not going to happen. Just to kind of run through quick, we already ran through the NHL bracket and where it stands. With the NBA, because that's what we had been kind of finishing up there with, all the other series, Brooklyn last night, even with James Harden going down the first 43 seconds of the game, beats Milwaukee. So they're up 1-0 in that series. Obviously, the Harden injury bears watching. How long is he out for again now? But does it matter? I mean, less Harden means more Durant, which is not a bad thing. So I thought Milwaukee would be able to, I did not get to watch all of that game because of the Bruins game. So I don't know necessarily whether, Milwaukee was just off their game. I know they missed a lot of threes early on. I expected Milwaukee to be a team that could just out-execute the Nets. From their cohesion and their experience, this is what everybody's been talking about. What happens when the Nets run into an established team? We'll see. It's obviously, I think, still going to be a long series. Philly, Atlanta, that series hasn't started yet. Utah awaiting tonight's game. Clippers in Dallas. What a bizarre series. Neither team winning on their home court. I mean, I don't think that's happened ever in a series through 6 games. I know it hadn't happened through 5 games since like in the 90s, I think. 93, 92, around there. And that was a 5-game series. I think it was one of the Houston Rockets teams that that happened with. So that bears watching. I still like Dallas. It's hard for me to pick against Luka. But hey, Game 7, anything can happen. Game 7's always fun to watch. Phoenix in 6 games beats the Lakers, who looked worn and ragged and just ready for vacation. No Anthony Davis. I mean, he tried to give it a go, clearly wasn't ready. I'm shocked trainers even let him try to step on the floor. There's a difference between being hurt and being injured. Everybody plays hurt. When you're injured, like a muscle just actually can't work, I'm surprised they even let him try and go out there and gut it out. And he couldn't for it was 2.5 minutes he was out there. And the Lakers fell behind big. They battled back. They showed a little fight, too little too late. And they go home early. I think LeBron, he said it, certainly will need the rest. All those finals runs. And then last year, you got some time off, looked fresh in the bubble. But then you turn it around, you had 6 weeks off, and then the season started again. So LeBron certainly needs the rest if he wants to come back next year and look like LeBron and less like a human. I mean, you look human in that series. So excited, though, for the Phoenix Suns. I mean, Denver's a great story, too. Them moving on without Jamal Murray. It's good to see, at this point, all the teams that are left, it's like, you just don't want Brooklyn. And that's why it's funny when Kyrie says, oh, we're uniting the world with this playoff run. It's like, yeah, against you. That's who you're uniting the world against you. Because it'll be really awesome. I mean, all the remaining teams, Milwaukee, even Philly, they haven't won in forever. Atlanta, Denver, Phoenix, Utah. I mean, Dallas, even the Clippers. Even the Clippers formed a quasi super team. But I mean, Kawhi's been an assassin. You got Paul George, an organization that's trying to get out from the shadow of the Lakers. How great would it be if the Clippers found a way to win the finals this year? There's great storylines everywhere that's left, except for the Brooklyn Nets. Nobody wants the Brooklyn Nets to win. Nobody. So that'll be fun to see how it plays out. I'm rooting for Phoenix now. I mean, Phoenix is just so fun. You got Chris Paul, the wily old veteran, leading a young squad. Devin Booker was phenomenal in that Game 6. He's a superstar. Jay Crowder salsa danced on LeBron. He finally got to eliminate LeBron from the playoffs, and then he promptly got ejected for doing that, which I thought was a bit of a soft call from the officials. But still, there's lots of compelling series left. And again, anybody but the Brooklyn Nets. That's kind of where everybody in the NBA landscape kind of falls. Other interesting news, we'll talk about the Julio Jones trade here at the end, but I wanted to get this in. Jon Rahm, this news happened yesterday, had to withdraw from a PGA championship because he tested positive for COVID. So he's out on the tour. Let's see, he was at, which tournament was he at? From the Memorial Tournament. He had, I guess, been in close contact with somebody who had COVID. Tested negative on Thursday, tested negative on Friday, and then tested positive Saturday. Got the news as he's leaving the course. And you could just see him break down. Jim Nantz doesn't know what's going on. They're like wrapping up. Rahm 6-stroke lead on the day. And he gets the news that he's got COVID, and he's done. Really tough. The question came up, is he vaccinated? And we finally found out later. Jason Sobel tweeted, from what I'm hearing now, Jon Rahm just this week received his first vaccination shot on site at Murfield Village, but only after he'd come in close contact with a person who had tested positive, which is why he was initially entered into the COVID protocol. This is going to crop up. I don't know if Rahm was a holdout, if he had some reluctance to get the vaccine. Obviously, that's his choice. Everybody has the choice. But if you're somebody like this who's an elite athlete, we sing it in the NFL. The NFL's, suggesting it. The rules are different if you have gotten vaccinated. Right now, there's coaches who can't be on the field coaching the teams because they don't have the vaccine, which it's fine. That's your choice, but guys are going to have to accept the rules. Jon Rahm, if he was a holdout for whatever reason, didn't want to get it, felt he didn't need it, now he has to deal with the fact that he was going to win this tournament probably, and now is not, and has to go home. Clearly, as soon as he came in contact with somebody, and maybe the dollar signs went through his head, like, whether it's just from a competitive standpoint, whether it's about the money, he ran and got a vaccine that day in the Village. So this is going to happen more in golf. It's going to happen in sports like tennis. The one-off sports, the team sports. You're around so many people. Most teams and things, they have been doing the vaccinations. It's still going to be an issue. COVID is still going to be with us in the fall. And even though stadiums are packed, it's mostly vaccinated people who are there, or people who have had to test negative to get there. The players, we saw how it did. Now, it obviously didn't preclude, at the end of the day, like a Super Bowl from happening, or like Tom Brady missing the Super Bowl. People worried about Patrick Mahomes. They had a lineman test positive while they were at the Super Bowl. How awful would that have been? Oh, Patrick Mahomes, sorry, can't play in the Super Bowl. These guys going to want to run that risk. I think you're going to see a lot of them get vaccinated, even if they were hesitant, because they're just not going to want to have this happen. They're not going to want to have it. Athletes, it's all about control. You try to practice, and you do as much as in your control as you can. If you have control over whether or not you can get tested or might potentially test positive, even if you feel fine and not playing a game, guys probably aren't going to want to leave that up to that chance, pending. So it'll be interesting to see how this type of situation affects all the other leagues and athletes down the road. All right. So, lastly here, let's hit on this Julio Jones trade. Zach Weiss, friend of the program, tweeted out, Titans 2022 Super Bowl champs confirmed. I don't know if I'm going to go that far. Obviously, I think this really helps the Titans. They needed to bolster their wide receiving core after some free agent departures, but I don't know if this necessarily puts them in the Super Bowl. I don't know if a wide receiver is enough to put any team over the top to win a Super Bowl, just because it's really more about the quarterback, and if Ryan Tannehill doesn't have time to throw, then Julio Jones, how effective are you? Obviously, it helps the Titans. They're a better team now. I don't know if it's necessarily going to mean that the Titans are winning the Super Bowl now. There's a lot of obstacles in between that. So, yeah, Ian Rappaport, the Falcons are trading all-pro wide receiver Julio Jones to the Titans in exchange for at least a second-round pick. I I was surprised they held out this long. I mean, they were supposedly holding out for a first-round pick. They were never going to get that. When a team knows you want to and have to trade somebody and you want a first-round pick, you're not going to get a first-round pick. It's just not going to happen. Looking to see if there's any more update. It doesn't really seem. Adam Schefter, blue check mark, had to make sure. Falcons and Titans are still discussing whether the package for Julio Jones will be a second and a fifth, or a second with a swap of other picks per sources, but the belief is the agreement will get done. I have to wonder, too, I want to check quickly what the Titans' cap situation is. They may have the room to just take on Julio Jones. Spot Track has already put him on their books. Wow. So, yeah, this is happening. It said that barring roadblocks, I doubt something falls through now. As of right now, they are in the red $33 million. So they're going to have to do some negotiating and fix some stuff on their roster. Obviously, you have a whole load of dead cap guys, and you've got some rookie guys that got to get paid, and obviously how their contracts actually shake out. And obviously you whittle down your roster. Right now, everybody's probably over the cap because you're signing guys getting ready for training camp. So we'll see how that plays out. I guess if it's only a second-round pick and a swap, you have to sit there and wonder, could the New England Patriots have gotten this done? Could the Seattle Seahawks have gotten this done? Two teams that probably a little more desperate to get a guy to help their teams win. Seattle trying to keep Russell Wilson happy. The Patriots, Bill Belichick kind of on a revenge tour here, trying to prove he can win without Tom Brady by just loading up this roster like he never did when Tom Brady was here. So we'll keep our eyes on that. And obviously, I'd expect now that this shoe has dropped, I think we see the Aaron Rodgers trade this week. I'd be shocked if it goes any longer. This should be an example that if you're holding out for a first-round pick, it might not happen. The longer you hold out, the less you're going to get back in return. You're going to have to be forced to accept something less. So I would be surprised if the Aaron Rodgers trade gets done this week now because of this. So yeah, that's pretty much going to do it. A lot of NHL, a lot of NBA talk this week. I'm sure we'll have more thoughts as things percolate, as the Celtics make a move on a coach. Who do you want? Fans, listeners out there, write us in, the360sportshow@gmail.com, or join us here live every single Sunday. We start the broadcast at 11 a.m. and we go pretty much just as long as we're able to talk, and as long as there's something to talk about. Will you be watching the Logan Paul-Floyd Mayweather fight tonight? I think I will. So they're going to get me. It's a spectacle. It obviously means nothing, but it means something. Is the reputation of boxing on the line here? Floyd Mayweather gets knocked out by Logan Paul. Is that good or bad for boxing? We'll find out. So thank you to those who joined us in the live stream. Thank you to Christian, too, able to come on and give us about an hour here. He had a birthday brunch to get to. So once again, happy birthday to Christian. Hope he has a great day. It's steaming outside, at least here in New England. So get outside, enjoy the day, stay safe, everybody, and we will talk to you all again next week. I'm Andrew Pizzelli. Take it easy now.